It is time for Here's the Deal, and tonight Dara Parker, Chris Thompson, and Lee Checkstad. We're talking legalizing prostitution. The Liberals are going to talk about it at their convention in February. I know, Chris, you happened to catch both of our guests, or all three of our guests, off the top. Your thoughts?
I think, as a lot of your earlier guests said, it's a tremendously complex issue. And at the end of the day, I think you have to look at, on the whole, is it good or bad for both the women and everyone in general? And that comes with either a yes or no answer, but I don't even know if it's even possible for us to figure out if it is.
And I think that's the tricky part.
I'm ecstatic that they've decriminalized it. I think that we know sex workers are, under the current conditions, subject to assault, murder, human trafficking, and I think it was a huge leap forward, a bound forward, when the Supreme Court struck down the things that are making it dangerous for people on the street. Whether or not to take it the next step and legalize it, I'm glad that's the federal government's responsibility and not mine.
Do you think by the time they do it, though, the new version will be so politicized that it won't be any better than what was there already?
Oh, dear Lord, I hope not. I mean, I think in a different world, everybody should have the right to do what they want with their body. The reality is that we live in a sexist world where women aren't equal, and therefore, I think the majority of women come to sex work not by choice. But do I believe that some women are there by choice, some men are there by choice? Absolutely. So it's complicated.
Well, and that's the trouble. How do you find the, as I said earlier, one-size-fits-all law?
And I don't think you can. I think you have to look at the choice argument and the differences between where it's legal and where it's not, and how that affects whether or not women come to prostitution by choice or not. And if you can set it up in some magical way where only the people that want to be there are there, then I don't think anyone would have a conceptual problem with it. But I think once you legalize
You don't think anyone would have a conceptual problem with people selling sex? People are talking about morality already. People make this a Victorian era issue that we should be regulating. The majority of sex workers are women, and we want to regulate women's bodies. And I apologize, but I think you're naive if you don't think this is about that.
Fair enough.
Okay, moving on.
I had not thought of that.
And that's why we have these conversations. But I think that is the tricky thing, because there is the stereotype of what a prostitute is, right? You know, why they're doing it, who they're there for.
There's a really good documentary I saw. It's called Sex Made in Germany, and it's about the legalization and the prostitution industry in Germany. And unfortunately, it's in German, so you have to understand German to get it. But it's on YouTube, and if anyone's out there that can understand German, it's a really interesting look behind the scenes of...
What's the gist of it?
It's kind of an industry like any other, in the sense that when you legalize it, and I think some of your previous guests have alluded to, that the supply will go up because there's no longer the stigma of it being illegal, that more, mostly women admittedly, will become prostitutes. And then what happens is, so because the supply is going up, the price is going down. And now they just talked about in the documentary of it being more along the lines of how do you run a business model around this? And when prices go down, it no longer has the same kind of draw for women, because they aren't making the money as that they would have had it been illegal.
Right, but then they go away from it, and so then supply goes down and demand goes up.
And
Yeah, you get
perhaps
some equilibrium in the middle, yeah.
human trafficking element of it goes up, and that's not, that's exactly what they don't want.
That's true. Yep.
We just really need women to be in charge, always.
We need women to have choices, and we
Hey, wait a
know the
minute.
root
You're
of
the
this.
only guy here.
Okay, so we'll vote on that now. We need women to have choices. The root of this is that women don't have the same choices because they're at higher risk for poverty, higher risk for violence, and that doesn't empower people to come into this actively. And so that's the real issue here. Whether or not somebody wants to choose to sell their body, if they have a full, real, empowered choice, that is not my decision.
But if you, whether or not prostitution is legal, women still face the choice of, do you become a prostitute or do you do whatever your next best alternative is? And if you think it's about removing that choice or changing that choice, you've still got that same kind of choice whether or not prostitution is legal. So the only way to get rid of that choice is to crack down on prostitution and trying to eradicate it entirely. And I don't think that's going to happen, nor is that feasible. So this whole idea of a choice argument, I think, is a red herring.
No.
Between whether or not it's legal.
I'm suggesting people should have the choice. I don't have an issue with the choice.
Oh, okay. All right, we're good there. Let's move on.
Solved.
We solved
Cheers.
it. Yes. Woo! We'll let the Harper government know we figured it out over here.
Excellent.
Chris just did a spin
Yeah,
take.
they'll listen anyway.
All right, let's move on to the story about this is incredible. Edmonton Airport, 18-year-old going to Mexico, probably with his family, maybe friends, I'm not sure. But going through security, the security fellow finds a small pipe bomb in the bag. And the kid says, oh, gosh, my bad. We set them off in the summertime, totally forgot it was in there. And the security guy says, yeah, okay, here you go. Take your bag with the bomb and off you go. And other security officials rushed in and went, no, 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 no. Still, even when they confiscated it, it took them 4 days to call the RCMP. So
Who are the only people who can do anything in this case?
So who's should be in more trouble here? The kid who ended up being fined $100 for possession of explosives, or the CATSA, Canadian Air Transport Security Authority official, who went to hand it back to him?
I'm just simply delighted that I've been proved completely right that airport security is useless.
It is.
I mean, I feel that every time I have to go through airport security, and especially post 9/11 in this era, and I sort of toy with them each time, where like sometimes I'll bring a long nail file and they'll remove it, and the next time I'll bring the same nail file and it's totally fine. So for me, this is just affirmation that that line that I have to trudge through is completely useless.
I think that might be a bit of an oversimplification of what's actually happening. But in this case, I think the guy who actually did the scan and went to hand the bomb back to the kid, like the way a lot of the news and the articles made it out to be is he had like this giant backpack that could have blown the plane out of the sky. And from what I understand, I don't think that's the case. If the way it is the way I understand it is, if like you said, if it's a kid that accidentally forgot something in his bag.
A pipe bomb.
Well,
I'm not talking a firecracker.
Well, pipe bomb could be a really big firecracker. Like he wasn't out there to blow the plane up. He's not some terrorist. He's a kid who forgot something illegal in his bag.
But how do you least, though, it should have been taken away from him, as it was.
It was, yeah. So
but only through checks and balances.
Right, and that's why we have checks and balances. And out of the however many millions of interactions per year that the airports have with CATSA, we have one, and the news.
One that we found out about.
One that we found out about, and the news, rightly so, is jumping all over it. But
so here's the question: this is a waspy kid in Edmonton, Alberta.
Yeah.
Change his ethnicity, put a turban on him, put some other religious hardware on him, and have him go through Vancouver. Does he get the same treatment?
Absolutely not. We know he doesn't. And I'm not sure how you're so confident in determining that he's not a terrorist. How do you do that through the 30-second interaction that he had going through the line?
I think he should have been detained at least a little bit. I'm sorry you're going to Mexico with your friends, but it's kind of part of your responsibility to know what's in your bag. And he should have been detained and not let on that plane.
Yeah,
but
if I can't go on with nail clippers,
right?
Yeah.
Right?
No, but they take away your nail clippers and they send you on your way. They don't detain you.
Right. But
and you have to draw a line somewhere. So the information that we don't have is just how dangerous and how big this pipe bomb actually was.
Right.
If it's something tiny that would have maybe dented the wall a little bit, I don't honestly see that it's such a huge deal.
Denting the wall of a plane is a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. Because then you add it to the bucket of nails that the guy 6 seats up in front of you managed to smuggle on, and the, whatever incendiary device your other buddy smuggled on.
They won't let me bring water or shampoo. I don't understand how this happened.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing that I find amazing, because I agree with you, Dara. If you go through a series of airports around the world, the differences are shocking. There is no uniform security protocol. Some places you wear your shoes, some places you don't. Some places you can get through. Well, there's absolutely nowhere you can wear your belt through. But
I toy with them. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
Okay, see, I've never gotten
Even
through
your
with a belt.
shoes. I was traveling recently, and literally at one gate in Vancouver, I've been on a couple of trips, one gate I have to take my shoes off, another security checkpoint I don't. It's not even the same at each airport.
And I think this is a manifestation of airport security is ultimately a human process, and nothing that is based on a human process is 100%. And you're never ever going to change that. And I think what you have to look at is this type of event once every, 2 or 3 or 4 years or whatever the case is this an acceptable risk for the level of security we have? And I think some kid not getting on a plane with a pipe bomb once in a while, I'm fine with that.
I want to stop pouring money into airport security and put that into root causes about the issues that are really going on. It just drives me crazy that so much money was invested in this in a post 9/11 era, when really I think we could be channeling that money into much more effective means to actually address core issues.
All right, we're out of time. Dara Parker, Chris Thompson, Lee Check said, thank you. That was fun. Coming up next on Unfiltered, a war of words over bike lanes in Kitsilano has escalated. Could legal action be next? We'll find out.